not my first profession, but my first kind of job. I worked as in a grocery shop in England. This is not counted as a profession, but it did. I still remember it, so obviously it was important to me. I have a bit of a problem. I think it's a kind of a psychological defect or something. But I was in the shop with all these tins behind me of baked beans, tomatoes, whatever. And anybody who came in and said, I'd like some of that mushrooms, please. And I looked around, I could see everything except the bloody mushroom tin. I don't know, I think there is a word for this, but I just could not do that job. After 1 month, the owner came up to me and said, come here, just get out of my shop. You're sacked. And then he said one thing which really, I think, affected me. He said, I want to tell you something. You will never make anything in life. Get out. So, at 16 years old, that does, you do think, shit man, I better do something. One thing which did help, is a really mean thing to say, but I did go past that shop a year later and it had shut down. So I don't know whether I had contributed or whether he was not a good guy, but whatever. So anyway, that made me, I think the first lesson is, you're going to get a lot of people who tell you you're shit. And you just have to know what you are. Sometimes it helps you when people tell you those things, but by and large, I think it's much better to get positive encouragement. I think that's one of the problems with India. But I'll give you one of my daughters, very good daughter. Don't tell her I ever said that. So she was at school here in India, at Belem, and she was just a normal kid with going through an Indian education, and I think the problem with Indian education, and Belem also has it, not Doon has it, everybody has it, is that they kept telling her, you're bad at this, you're bad at your maths, you're bad at your this, so, you know, so it was like a little bit of a power game between the teacher and the student, and if you point out negatives, you kind of a little bit on top, just like if you criticize somebody, you feel superior, but actually you've just done nothing. So she qualified, passed her class to a very average marks. So when you get average marks, where do you try for? You try for the most difficult place to join in the world, which is the Rhode Island School of Design. RISD, that's, you probably haven't heard of it, but it's tougher to get into anywhere else. So anyway, she got there, and the whole world changed because they were just so positive. She has a lot of negatives, ask me, as a father. But they never looked at her negatives. They just looked at her, one or two positives, and just said, you're great at that, you're just fantastic, just pursue that. And she blossomed, and she ended up with Phi Beta Kappa, top of it, whatever is on. So, in your life, I think if you ever have to teach, or you ever have people under you, which you're going to have very soon, I think learn a bit from that education system, the college education system in America. Be positive, look at people's positives. See, I told you I'd be a bit preachy, but I do really honestly feel that. The second thing I'd like to say is, when I was your age, I had no clue what I wanted to do, except I knew I did not want to be an engineer. And because at that time everybody wanted to be an engineer, so I knew I didn't want to. So I made the next biggest mistake. I listened to my parents and I became a chartered accountant. And I really was the world's worst chartered accountant. My wife describes me going to office like a lamb to a slaughterhouse. But whatever it is, whichever path you are going to take, I think I sensed it in most of you, the aim should be, and I have a house where there are extreme left-wing people, there are extreme right-wing people, there are, my brother's a Muslim, my cousins are, not, I was going to say rabid, but a strong Christian. So we don't discuss anything, not even the weather. But we all have faith in each other that you're going through this route. Like if I believe in the free market, or somebody believes in the planned economy, ultimate aim is exactly the same. To do something for the poor in this country. I think if that is one thing all of you could keep at the back of your mind. Maybe it sounds a bit corny these days, but if you could, I think that would be a great foundation to have of your life. Whatever you're doing, there should be a why you're doing things. And if I can ask you to do one takeaway from today, is to go home tonight and think about, okay, you're going to do all these things. That's what you're going to do. But why are you doing this? And just ask yourself that question and see whether you come up with an answer. So anyway, then I did my economics PhD, and then I taught. I was teaching at the Delhi School of Economics, where Calcutta students were by far the best. But 90% of all students wanted to join the IAS for the wrong reasons actually. You have the right reasons, I felt. And I enjoyed that a lot. I don't think I was a very good teacher, a bit lazy. Then I joined the government of India, the Ministry of Finance, big shot. I've never felt such a big shot in my life. I'd get out of my car, somebody would carry my, like, even if I have a bag, they'd have to carry it. I'd insist they should not, but the PNs told me their izzat is affected if I carry it myself. So you have to make a choice of whether you're worried about his izzat or you're worried about your own values. So which one would you do? Carry it yourself, give it to your PN. You'd carry it yourself and humiliate that guy? How many would carry it themselves? How many would carry it themselves? Even if he said, sir, please, all my peers are looking at me, I really will look terrible if you carry it. How many would still carry it? This is the heartless lot. Okay, that's about 40%. How many would say, here you are. That's what I've been waiting for all these years actually. So about 10%, and 50% of you don't know what you want to do. So one day you'll give it, one day you'll carry it, is it? How many of you didn't raise your hands? You didn't raise your hand? Come on, 50% didn't raise their hands. Raise your hands. Those who are confused, raise your hands. It's good to be confused. There are at least 30% who are shy and bullshitting. It's okay, you can think about it. Anyway, I carried it myself and humiliated the beer. Anyway, I got into good colleagues there, and I enjoyed the government a lot for about 6 months. Then I began to realize after about 6 months that I was becoming a bit like the rest. That I tried to get something through. The first 6 months, if it didn't go through, I'd be depressed, I would fight. After 6 months, didn't go through. That's when I decided to leave. So I gave them notice after 6 months, so after about a year I left. Because if you don't feel bad, when you don't feel passionate about it, I feel just forget it. Plus I had the real passion, which I had actually started earlier. I've done 4 professions, 5, whatever it is, which is elections. Elections is my love of my life, including my daughters. Actually, it's a little ahead of all my daughters. It's my real daughter. I started, I think it's in my DNA or some shit. Like some people play cricket when they are 7 years old. I was listening to elections and analyzing elections when I was about 8, 9, 10. And I just loved it. And I started writing on it when I was 13, 14. I wrote for newspapers in England. I just like and I met a few other people. There are this breed of people who like elections, and if they sit together, somebody described, because they keep talking for like 10 hours on elections, somebody said to me, like, you're like 2 pigs in shit. I thought that was a disgusting expression, but you know what it means, enjoying ourselves. So then I wrote 5 books on elections. And I'm still planning the 6th book, but I've got lazy. And I still feel that is my first passion.
All of us were taught sociology by Professor Andre Bete, and he said that caste is losing its grip when it comes to personal life of all Indians, when it's coming to marriage, religion. But in one aspect where caste is actually tightening its grip is politics, and one of the biggest perpetrators of that is the media. So just wanted your comments on that. Yes, which is keeping the question of caste alive when it comes to politics. So that is my first question. And second question, what does India need to do to produce a channel which has the global brand equity such as a BBC or a CNN? When can we see such a channel coming out of India?
NDTV? No. Okay, first question in terms of caste, it's actually an election question. No? I don't think it's so much of a media question. In all our surveys, and I only go by facts and figures, I don't pretend to have a feel for all this, because although I do in every election travel deep into the every election, in all our surveys, caste does matter in voting patterns. But it does not matter as much as it used to. Like if it was a weightage of 8 out of 10 earlier, it's a weightage of about 5 out of 10 now. But we're just doing a big survey, which we're going to announce the results of who would win if there was an election now. Guess who would win? I think it's pretty easy. Actually, I haven't seen the results, but I saw some of the analysis. And caste is there, but it's about 50%, but it does matter. So media may hype it. Media hypes everything these days. That is a problem. In terms of your second question, I actually feel that kids like you can smash the BBC. I think the BBC lacks energy, lacks creativity. It has a fantastic brand, but it is boring. And so is CNN. But Indian kids with the ability to be creative, which one thing Chinese are not. You can't say, you got to listen to me 9 to 5, 5 to 6 you can be creative, but after 6 no creativity. Same with Singapore or Malaysia or any of these countries. Creativity is tough. The only problem with you guys is you're a bit too creative. Just argue all the bloody time. You need to listen to us. I tell people at NDTV, for God's sake, don't argue. They argue more. But that is where the future media is. You have creativity in your DNA. And that's thanks to us, because of democracy. 65 years of democracy is in your DNA. And you are going to use that. I don't have to ask you. You're going to smash the world by that. And I can tell you 5 years from now, whether it's us and we're trying to do it, or maybe somebody else, when 5 years from now soft power is going to be as much, if not more important than hardware, there will be a global Indian channel that will be pretty powerful. Al Jazeera has tried to do it, but again, just doesn't have the creativity that Indians have. And you do it cheap, you do it full of energy, and you will get eyeballs which are not Indian. Please don't aim at Indian eyeballs. At least the one that we are planning to do is not to aim at Indian eyeballs. You've got CNN from America, BBC from England and some European channels. You've got CCTV from China, which is all over distributed, because distribution is expensive. And you've got Al Jazeera. Nothing from India. And man, this is our birthright. Software. So there will be an Indian channel that's going to take the world by storm. 5 years.